How many of you are producing video? Okay, a couple of hands, three hands. What are the rest of you are interested in this? Where does your interest lie? What are you hoping to find out? And what are you doing sort of related to this topic? What brings you here? Yes?
My name is Brian. I want to make training videos, but finding tools and tips of how to make the videos accessible, options for captioning, so that that's an accessible possibility, and other tools and tricks.
Okay. All right. Others? Just hungry for knowledge? That's good. We are at a higher education institution, so provide knowledge. Okay, so, well, accessible media benefits a lot of people. This, those of you that were in my talks yesterday, I talked about this in a couple of different contexts, but whenever we're talking about universal design and developing technology or deploying technology in ways that benefits a lot of people, not just common users or particular groups of users, but everybody, then video is kind of the poster child for universal design. There's so many things that you can do with video that are beneficial to everybody, and particularly captions. Captions have a lot of benefits beyond just sort of the obvious. But with accessible media, you have, and usually I use the word media interchangeably with video, although also audio sort of falls into this. But people who are unable to hear the audio, if you have a text alternative, whether that be a transcript for audio or captions for video, then that gives them access, right? So they have access to what they're unable to hear. And I phrase it like this: people who are unable to hear the audio, because it could be somebody who's deaf or hard hearing, but it could also just be somebody who's situationally hearing impaired. They're in a noisy environment, so they can't hear. They're in a quiet environment, so they can't listen to something out loud, and maybe they don't have their headphones. So lots of people can sort of fall into having that need for captions or for a transcript. People who are unable to see the video. So if you've got video and it has content that is presented only visually, then they're going to be missing out on that content. So a common example is when you have a set of interviews in a video, different people talking, and on screen maybe it identifies who the speaker is by name, by title. If somebody can't see that, they don't know who's talking unless they recognize the person's voice, which might not be likely. So if there is narration, a descriptive track that goes along with the video, then people who can't see the video benefit from that. People who are unable to use a mouse benefit from having an accessible player that is operable by keyboard, or that is operable with a screen reader. People with cognitive disabilities can benefit from just having video. So one of the things that I really hate to hear, sometimes we talk a lot about the need for captioning and audio description on our campus, and sometimes faculty members will say, well, that's, I don't have the money to get things captioned, it's too time consuming, so I'm just not going to show video in my class. But then that creates perhaps another barrier, because some people learn best from video. So it's important to really sort of keep the big picture in mind. So these are all sort of traditionally what we think of as accessibility, people with disabilities. But captions benefit so many more people. People whose first language is not the one spoken in the video. They can benefit from seeing the text as well as hearing the text. People who don't understand the language of the video at all. With YouTube, you can now translate videos if they're captioned. So you've got captions. You can automatically translate on the fly into any language that Google supports. And it's only as good as automatic translation is, but it's getting better all the time, and is actually pretty good that it can take English text and convert that into other languages, and so you then watch subtitles live. That's not possible if it's not captioned. People who have low internet bandwidth, so if you're not able to watch a video, then having a transcript, might be your only access. And so it's important to provide that transcript as well. People who need to search for particular video content, that's one of the big selling points on our campus for captions, is that with captions, suddenly we have all of this video data that's now searchable. And prior to that, we were getting more and more video, and you couldn't search that. So that's information lost. So captions really help that. One of the reasons Google has invested heavily in captioning technology is that they want searchability. They want video to be part of this vast information library that they have. And just people who are busy. That how many of you have time to watch every video that comes your way that you're interested in? Few of us have that luxury to be able to do that. But if we can glance at a transcript, we can see maybe a particular section of something that meets our needs or that we want to check out, and then click within that transcript to launch the video at that point, then that's really an awesome feature. And it helps students to be able to go back and study lecture captured that their course, if they're preparing for an exam, to be able to go in, search for text, very quickly find it, scan transcripts, transcripts to launch video at particular points. That really helps everybody. And there's nobody that doesn't benefit from having accessible media. And so, what we want to explore today is kind of what that looks like. What is accessible media, and how do we go about ensuring that the media that we're producing has these sort of characteristics that make all this possible. So we're going to talk about captions. That'll be a large part of what we do, and we'll have some hands-on activities surrounding captions. We will talk about audio description. So for people who are unable to see the video, that description is the solution. We'll talk about how to choose an accessible media player. What kind of things do you look for? And we'll talk a little bit at the end about just sort of enterprise-wide strategies for making video accessible. And just kind of open that up to any resources that are currently available, or just ideas that you might have for making sure that the maximum amount of video that you all are producing is accessible. So let's plunge into captions. Any just sort of general questions or anything at this point before we do? Okay. So captions, it's actually a very simple process, pretty straightforward. The process goes something like this. First of all, you need a transcript. You need to know what's being said within the video. And sometimes I get the question, is it okay just to do a transcript? Do I have to, convert that into captions, synchronize that with the video? And my response is always, why not? Because getting the transcript is 95% of the work. So once you have the transcript, then it's very easy to synchronize that with the video. YouTube actually does a really good job. If you have a transcript and you upload that to YouTube along with the video, then it can take your transcript and convert it to captions for free. Does a really good job of that. What it can't do well, but tries to do, is automatically create the transcript. So if it knows what's being said, because you tell it what's being said, then it can figure out when that was said. But it can't figure out what was said very accurately. Although it is getting better and better. If you have a video with a person who speaks clearly and without a whole lot of distracting background noise, then YouTube does a pretty good job even of transcribing. But for most of our videos, we actually have to type in the transcript. So that takes a little bit of time. But there are tools that kind of help that and help to make it go smoothly. So once you have a transcript and everything is written out, then that transcript needs to be synchronized with the video. So you have your transcript broken up into small independent segments, basically caption-sized segments that will fit on the screen, just a couple lines on the screen. And then those are synchronized with the video, so each one ultimately ends up with a timestamp. It says, this text starts now, show this text now, and stop showing this text at this stop time. And so that's all contained within a caption file. So the third step, after you have done that time syncing, is to save to an output file that is appropriate for your media type. So there are all sorts of different caption file formats. The three I've listed here are sort of emerging as the most common, and they are kind of standards. SRT is one that's been around for a long time. It's very easy to understand, easy to read, plain text, caption file format. So any of these three, actually, you can just open them up in a word processor or text editor and read them. It's just plain text. TTML, time text markup language, that is the W3C standard for time text. They created this a few years ago. So the W3C is the organization that maintains all sorts of web-based standards, HTML and CSS and XML, and lots of others. TTML is one of their products. But interestingly enough, the HTML5 group within W3C, who's been creating the HTML5 specification, video is built into HTML5, and we'll look at that in a little bit. And as part of that, that working group is actually recommending a new caption format called VTT, Video Text Track. So rather than embrace TTML, which was an existing W3C standard, they're creating yet another standard file format called VTT. So you've got all sorts of different choices, and which one you use just sort of depends on what you're using for the final delivery. If you're using YouTube, then you can upload any of these three, and it will work. If you're using other media players, they might specify in the documentation, if they support captions, then you have to use this particular caption file. And then also within the documentation of the media player, they'll tell you how to tell the player where the caption file resides, or how to feed this information to the player. In the case of YouTube, you just upload your caption file to YouTube, and YouTube then processes that. So that's it for 4 steps. I see a frown.
How many different files I'll have to go with? I mean, we'll get through it.
Yeah. So we're going to walk through these 4 steps, so this will become clearer and clearer. Any questions though before we move on? All right. So how do you do this? How do you get a transcript? How do you do all 4 of the steps, really? There are tools that walk you through all 4 of the steps. And usually when you're transcribing, you are transcribing and time syncing at the same time. So because there are all these tools that allow you to do captioning, and then you're typing text as captions on the screen, and then you type a little bit of text, play the video, type what you heard, pause, play, pause, type, play, pause, type, play, pause, type. That's kind of the way it works. So there are lots and lots of tools available. These are 4 of my favorites that are free and online and easy to use. The one that I really have sort of migrated to more than the others is the first, amara.org, and we're actually going to use that today in our hands-on exercise. Do a little bit of captioning with Amara. .sub is another. One key difference between these two is that Amara requires that you have a public URL for video, and that's all that's required. So when you log into Amara, you give it a URL, it loads your video into its player, and you can caption it right there. So any public YouTube video will work. If it's a private video, not one that you can make video private on YouTube by having a private URL unpublished and just share that with key people. That would work for Amara if you have a URL. But a private video that requires that somebody actually log in to see the video is not going to work in Amara. So it has to be public facing. DocSub actually allows you to upload your media file directly to their server. And so if you really need to caption something privately and you don't want anybody else to see it, then DocSub provides that capability and Amara does not. Yes?
Since I assume a lot of people in here will be using videos that other people have made, not necessarily people that they know, can you talk about copyright at all?
Yeah. Well, I can talk about copyright from my perspective, and if there are lawyers or others who are concerned about such things, then you may have very different perspectives. But mine is that accessibility trumps copyright. And that's just my perspective as the technology accessibility guy. That if I've got somebody who needs access to this video, and if they don't get access to this video, then my university is violating their rights and therefore violating Section 504 or the ADA, then I can caption that video to give them access. And if the owner of that video takes issue with that and wants to fight it out in tort, then I think the chances of them doing that are small enough that I'm willing to take the risk to caption the video. So,
and that would be the case definitely if we're talking at Portland State, if we're talking about a student registered with the DRC where a caption video is required for a student with a disability. But I think a lot of the development of self-captioning that faculty members might be doing for videos that they're planning on creating in a course, this would be proactive captioning. And in the case of proactive captioning, they might have time to do that permissions step where they contact whoever owns the video. And that would be the step that they would get to after going through all of the other things first. Is there a caption copy out there? Maybe there's a newer copy I didn't know about. Maybe the owner has a caption copy. And then after going through those steps, then going to, okay, well, let me ask the owner for permission. Because in that case, they wouldn't be covered by that ADA umbrella.
The other thing too, I think is important is Michelle has said this before in other venues on campus, but I think the response rate in working directly with the producer of a video to ask them to caption their own content so that it's accessible for everyone else who might be using it is pretty good. So once you bring it to someone's attention that, a lot of people who might get something out of your content can't actually access it at all, that tends to be received well. So that can decrease the amount of work you have to do.
It can be a pretty positive response if you say, your video is great and I want to make it available to all of my students and accessible for everyone, and people don't usually respond negatively to that inquiry.
Yeah, just in terms of logistics, these tools, you can caption anything, and they were set up, so again, you got a public-facing URL, then you can caption it. So if it's on YouTube, you can caption it. But you can't take that end product, the caption file that is the finished product, you can't upload that to YouTube and make the video captioned. So the video on YouTube won't be captioned until the owner of that video uploads the caption track. And so sometimes what we've done is caption the video and then sent the captions to the owner with some instruction with hey, look what we did. Trying to present it so it's a positive thing. Look what we did for you. Your video. We love your video. It can be more accessible, and we've done this. And here's how. So we can provide the steps. They don't have to do any research. They just follow the steps, upload the captions, and then it's accessible for everybody. And we've gotten positive feedback, and people have done that, or we've gotten none. Sometimes people just don't check their YouTube, messages, and so we never hear from people. But I've never got anybody that was, irate because we had violated their copyright by captioning their video. So I think it's safe to do that. Another thing, just from an accommodation standpoint, and I don't know from a policy standpoint whether you want to do this, but it does work, that when you have captioned a video on Amara or .sub, not true of Subtitle Horse, and I'm not sure about Caption 2, but the other actually do provide a URL within their website where you can view the video with captions. So, so you've captioned it, it's available then on Amara as a captioned video, and somebody could view it there. So even if you can't get in touch with the owner so that they can caption their YouTube video, you could, as a reasonable accommodation, give the Amara URL or the .sub URL to a student to be able to view a captioned version of the video. So that's kind of a nice little workaround. So, and these slides are, they actually are already available here at staff.washington.edu/TFT, my initials, /downloads. I put this set up there as opposed to the others that I've done over the last couple days because it does have a lot of links in it, and I thought you might want access to the links. So approaches to captioning. You could not let machines do it for you, because I just mentioned, Google does do this when you upload a video to YouTube. It automatically captions everything it gets. And it just really isn't at a point where it's reliable yet. Even if it were 95% reliable, then that means 5% of what it's giving you is incorrect, and that's enough to really sort of distort reality. And for somebody who's dependent on this, then they could get a very incorrect message from something that's 5% wrong. So we need a very high percentage of accuracy in order to depend on what Google is doing. That said, Google could caption and will caption videos for us, and then if it's reasonably accurate, then we can just go in and correct the errors that it made. So it could be at least a step in the right direction, and then all we have to do is make a few changes and we're done. So if it doesn't do a very good job, though, then I found that it's a lot easier just to start over from scratch than to edit what it has done, because it's a smoother process. You kind of get in a rhythm when you're playing, pausing, typing, playing, pausing, typing, and there really isn't much of a rhythm to editing. The second thing you can do is hire a captioning vendor. And I understand you guys have a contract, right, with somebody. Is that just a disability services contract? So it's not institutional-wide?
There are talks. We're having a conversation right now at the university level as to how we can go forward proactively, but nothing has been decided yet.
Okay.
Yeah.
But even as individual departments or units, you could use a captioning vendor. There's several of them out there. Dozens of captioning vendors, actually. And you can kind of look around and see. I think I might have some slides coming up about that'll link you to lists of captioning vendors. And they actually can do the work really well. A lot of them hire people who have expertise in various academic disciplines, and so they can caption stuff, even very technical content. And they can usually do it quickly and really probably more cost effectively than you could do it, because they've got the expertise and the skills to do it, to just crank it out. That said, I've heard of some higher education institutions crowdsourcing successfully, and I'm kind of a believer in that if we have a potential for a crowd, which, at a large university, we've got students, we've got alumni that we could potentially tap into, and the challenge becomes recruiting and managing those volunteers and sort of staying on top of that whole project. So you need probably somebody to manage that project. But you could utilize the crowd for crowdsourcing and captioning media. And that's, these websites that have emerged were designed to do exactly that. Amara is all about crowdsourcing, captioning, and subtitling. So that they're trying to get people engaged and volunteering and subtitling into other languages. The fourth thing you can do is do it yourself. Learn how to use these tools. And if you just have a little bit of video, or most of your videos are short, then it really can be a kind of a fun process and doesn't require an extraordinary amount of time. So or may in fact be the best way to go. There are a few other free or cheap captioning tools that I've listed here. These are actually downloadable software packages that you can run on your own computer. Magpie, Subtitle Workshop, Movie Captioner, Capscribe, and there's that slide again. And there's that slide again. And here's just a little bit more about the different flavors of closed captions, subgrip, and time text markup language, and WebVTT. So on WebVTT, HTML5, how many of you are web developers or know some HTML? Okay, about a little less than half perhaps. Well, with HTML5, the new version of HTML, we now have a video tag. And it's as simple as this to add video to a web page now. You just use the video tag with the source attribute, and you point to a video file. And then you've got a video on your web page. This would actually work in any browser that supports MP4 as a video format. So it gets a little complicated because not every browser supports MP4. There has been kind of an ongoing battle over the last several years over what format browsers would support. And Opera and Firefox were both resistant to support MP4 because of some trademark and patent issues that they were concerned about. So, whereas Internet Explorer and Safari both were supporters of MP4. So to get video to work across browsers, you have to have two different videos. A form MP4 for browsers that support it, and then another format for browsers that don't. So in this case we have, inside our video tag, we have two source tags pointing to an MP4 file and pointing to a WebM file. Both Firefox and Opera support WebM. So that's one issue. To get browser compatibility, you have to have two video files. But to get accessibility, this is where HTML5 is actually really exciting, that they have accessibility built in really well into this video element. There's also a track tag with different kinds of tracks that you can synchronize with your media. And so you can have a captions track, so it's track kind equals captions, that provides a VTT file, which is a caption file that then gets synchronized with your video. You can also have an audio description track. So HTML5 actually supports audio description in the same way that it supports captions, and we'll look at audio description in a little bit. But anyway, this very simple markup right here would give you an accessible video player in the browser with captions. So it's pretty exciting that it has gotten that easy. And so all you need to do is create this VTT file using the process that we just talked about. So you create the transcript, you time sync that video, and then you export using whatever tool you're using Mara, using .sub, export to VTT, plug that file name into your HTML5 code, and you've got fully accessible caption video on your web page just with this code. So you can use this code, you just need to substitute the actual file names within your code. Okay, so why don't we take a look at captions. And this is where things get a little tricky, perhaps. How many of you brought headphones? There's an email that went out. How many did not bring headphones? 1, 2, 3. So there are quite a few that did not. We do have a few headphones here. Michelle is going to distribute.
Could you raise your hands again? Sorry.
Okay.
Oh, we have a lot of people. So there's still a couple people without. You can give them mine. Is there anyone still missing headphones? Okay. Anyone still missing headphones? Nope. Yes. Great.
Okay, so the next question is, well, the next step is we're going to use Amara. And so in order to use Amara, you're going to need an Amara account. And so we need to walk through the process of creating an Amara account. And that's pretty simple and straightforward. If we go to amara.org, then in the upper right, there's a sign in, sign up. If you don't already have an Amara account, then you'll need to sign up. Otherwise, you need to sign in. And it does support OpenID. So if you got a Google account or whatever else they support, Facebook, Twitter, then you could sign in with that. So I'll give you a minute or two to create that account and get signed in. And the next thing you're going to need after creating an Amara account is a video. So if you all have a video, we're only going to do this for a very short period of time. So if you have a really short video, like 5 minutes or less, then that would be a good choice. If you have a longer video, that's fine. You probably won't get through with it, but that's okay. Just to kind of get the experience of doing a little bit of captioning. You just need any video with a public-facing URL, or
there are videos on the Portland State University's YouTube page that we've been given permission to caption for this workshop. So.
okay. So that would be great because that would help to solve a need, or to meet a need, too. So what was that? Portland State University's YouTube?
Yeah, so Portland State University's YouTube channel, and there's probably like 9 that I found which have audio but no captions. So there are 2 commencement videos that are really long. Obviously, we're not going to get through them. We could start on those. There's also one with a student by the name of Megan Ellis.
Is that youtube.com/PSU?
It's youtube.com/PortlandStateU.
All one word?
Mm-hmm.
Portland State.
That's awesome. So Michelle has a list of names of everyone who signed up for the workshop, and she's going to send all of the URLs to everyone right now for the videos.
Okay. The tricky thing is we also don't want to overlap, so we need to figure out some way of identifying who's working on what.
So there are 11 videos, and the commencement ones are pretty long, so those could be divided up into sections.
It's going to be hard to divide it into sections, though, I think.
Okay.
We could do that, but not as we're all just kind of getting our feet wet with this. So how many of you have videos of your own that you're intending to work on? And how many of you intend to work on a Portland State video? Okay. So
we can caption the same video. Like multiple people can caption the same video if we want. I mean that's
yeah, we'll see how that goes. I think once you enter it onto Amara, it might be there for everybody to share. So if you try to enter something somebody else has already created,
okay.
But so anyway, we'll just try this. So you created an Amara account. You have a video in mind that you want to caption. You get the URL of that video. And YouTube provides a few ways to do that, typically. Although it always seems to change.
It's on the left under the logo. It's just a symbol, so it doesn't matter. Under the red subscribe button. Under, yeah.
Wow. Okay, and then it's automatically highlighted. So you grab that URL, paste that into Amara, where it says add a video. Just paste the URL in.
And everyone has just received that list of URLs, if that would be helpful.
Okay. So let me, before you plunge in, let me just kind of walk through this process. And I think I'm actually going to grab one of my own videos, because we also at the University of Washington have these captions and videos. This one's got 7,000 views. Hopefully it's captioned.
From jet travel to software to medicine, this place has given the world some big ideas.
It's got automatic captions, but that's not quite what we
A
want.
lot of that has to do with this place.
So how do you get a URL from here? You have to open it up in its own.
From jet travel to software to medicine, this place has given...
Okay. So back over here to Amara. I have just copied the URL of the video. I paste it. I click subtitle. And voila, already my video is ready for captioning. Over here on the left side, it says there's one language. It's English, so this might be one I already started working on. If I click on that, then it thinks for a moment. And so here's the captioning has started, but it's not quite done yet. So we'll click on Edit Subtitles. And it loads the subtitle editor. And basically, it's got keyboard controls up on the top. You can see those. Tab is used for play or pause. Shift tab, you can skip back a few seconds if you need to rehear something. And Shift Enter creates a line break. And as we're captioning, it's going to show us the video, and it's going to show us the caption text on the video. And so we want to try to keep our caption text short, so it fits, on the screen. And we want to not, wherever possible, interrupt ideas by breaking them from screen to screen. So try to keep, you know, phrases, complete sentences if possible, but if it's long sentence, then just keep phrases together on a single screen before moving on to the next screen. So that you imagine that a person is watching the video, they can't hear it, then it's just going to be easier for them to track if you've got ideas together rather than, you know, something that's sort of dangling and they have to wait to find out how that idea ends. So we already have some captions here, but I'll start and we'll just kind of see how those look. I'm going to hit Tab to start.
From jet travel to software to medicine, this place has given the world some big ideas. A lot of that has to do with this place. Over the past 150 years, the University of Washington has fostered one of the most creative cultures in history.
Okay, so that's where those captions stop. So I'm going to click New Subtitle. I'm ready to start typing the next one. I'll hit Tab.
And today, it's where a new generation of leaders, thinkers,
And today, it's where a new generation and I'm going to hit Shift Enter now to go down to a second line of, what do they say, leaders and thinkers? And then I'll hit Tab to play again.
and doers are
And doers.
changing the world again.
And I press, now I feel like it's time to break for a new caption. So I press Enter, and that finishes that caption, and now I'm on to the next caption. I think. Did it work that way?
If you have
If you have talent,
talent,
curiosity,
and desire,
and desire,
discover what's next.
discover. Yeah, my keyboard is acting funny here. So anyway, you kind of get the idea. You follow, use the keyboard shortcuts up there, type what you hear, press Enter to break to a new caption.
Did you do speech recognition with this first? Did I miss that step?
No,
Okay, so it's just captioning throughout the whole, you're doing all of the captioning.
I'm doing the captioning, and somebody else had done a little bit of captioning to begin with, and that may actually have been me in a previous workshop. Yeah, that's just me watching the video and typing. So go ahead and play around with that with your video, and if anything doesn't quite go according to plan, or if you're uncertain what you're supposed to be doing, just ask.